we are going to take a second to touch on one of the questions, which was how to win an Oscar nod.
Yeah, because who wouldn't want to win an Oscar? So one way to do it is starts with this story. So in 2004, I made one of my films was called Open House. It was a real estate musical, starred Oscar nominee Sally Kellerman, Anthony Rapp, who had just done Rent at the time, Ann Magnuson. Really great cast, but we did it for like no money on cameras smaller than these, you know. But it was an original real estate musical, as one does, you know, why not? So
It's everyone's dream.
yeah. Anyway, so we finished the film, played it at a bunch of good festivals. Audiences liked it, festivals liked it, critics liked it. Distributors wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. So like most good Hollywood stories, this one starts with me coming out of the proctologist's office one day, and I'm walking a little funny, and I get this call from my friend Ariana Bacco, who at the time was the head of acquisitions at Miramax Films. And I said, Ariana, wow, you're calling me on such an inauspicious day when I'm walking funny, but do you want to pick up the film for Miramax Films, you know? Yeah. And she goes, no, that piece of crap, no, we don't want it. I said, well, why are you calling me? Why are you bothering me? She said, well, Dan, have you ever heard about this Oscar category called Best Original Musical? And I said, Best Original Musical? That's crazy talk. I've never heard of such a thing. She goes, no, it's a real category that the Academy has. They've just never activated it. I said, what do you mean activated? Well, she said, the rules are very strict and arcane. If there are 5 original films in any one year, then they activate the category. 3 of them get nominated and 1 of them wins. But how they define an original musical is very strict. It has to have at least 5 songs by the same songwriting team. Can't be based on a stage play. So, you know, Moulin Rouge wouldn't have counted, not original songs. Chicago wouldn't have counted. It's a Broadway play.
Yep.
So that's why there had never been a year where there had been 5 eligible films. The reason she was calling me is Miramax thought they had 2 films that were going to be eligible that year, and they needed a couple patsies like me that could just fill out the category but not really win, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, I'll be Harvey's patsy. What could possibly go wrong with that idea? And she said, great. So we started looking for other filmmakers together. We started to look for other musicals that would fit the category. Now, Neil Young, the rock star, he was actually going to produce an earlier film of mine, so I kind of knew him and his producing partner. He had just directed a film called Greendale. It was sort of based on an album that was coming out, but they shot the film before the album was released. That made the film eligible. So he submitted. Remember Trey Parker and Matt Stone, those guys?
Yep.
They had just done Team America World Police for Paramount. And that had 6 songs. I knew those guys through Slamdance. We got them to submit. Disney had the last of their hand-drawn animated films called Home on the Range, but the music was by Alan Menken. 8-time Oscar winner, Alan Menken, for, you know, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, all that. Alan's like, well, I've got room on my, you know, mantle for 1 more Oscar. Sure, I'll submit. So we got Disney and Alan Menken to submit. Meanwhile, turns out the 2 films that Miramax had were not eligible for these various arcane reasons, so they dropped out. So we had 4 films, including my film, Open House. We needed 1 more film. Now, this is in August of 2004. The deadline for the Academy is December 1st at 5 p.m. So we thought, great, I'll just shoot another film and just make it a musical.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be good. It just have to be a musical.
It has to qualify.
Yeah, it just has to qualify. So I was getting ready to go to a film festival in Oldenburg, Germany, in northern Germany, a couple weeks later with one of my acting partners from Open House, my producing partner, and I'm friends with the people who run the festival. And we knew a lot of German actors and rock stars go there. So we thought, why don't we just shoot it while we're there? You know, so I borrowed a friend's camera, borrowed a microphone and a light, a little mag light, just taped everything together. And we came up with an improvisable storyline, but we wrote 12 songs like in 2 weeks. You know, there was a team of 4 of us. We had a crazy adventures in Germany. The biggest pimp in Germany was part of the production, and filming him beating up people, and the biggest triathlon in Europe was going on there. Anyway, crazy story. Come back to LA, slap together a cut of the film, and at 4:55 p.m. we go to the Academy on Wilshire over here in Beverly Hills, and the elevator's broken, and their office is on the 7th floor, and we're running up the stairs and running upstairs and running upstairs.
Oh, wow.
And we finally get there at 4:59. We slap down the DVD or VHS or whatever it was at the time. We said, here you go. Here's your last film. Here's the 5th film. And they go, you idiots, what kind of idiot goes to Germany to make a bad German musical? Because we couldn't make it a good film because then it would take votes away from our first film.
Yeah.
So we had 9 days to make a bad German musical. It was like a real life version of The Producers. Anyway, so I'm like, well, I'm the idiot that would go and do something like that. So I'm like, crap. Now we got to take it to the Board of Governors. And so, 3 days later, the Board of Governors meets, and it's Tom Hanks and the studio heads, and they all talk like this, right? Because that's how they talk at the Academy. You know that. And they're like, Oscar for Best Original Musical. That's crazy talk. We'd never heard of such a thing. And the guys in the music branch, the governors, they're like, whoops, yeah, we just didn't think anyone would ever do it. But, it's there. It's in our rule book. And they're like, well, who are we going to give this thing to? Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who showed up in dresses, hopped up on acid the last time they were nominated? No, they're banned for life. Neil Young, for whatever reason, they didn't like Neil because he didn't show up for rehearsals the last time he'd been nominated for songs, so they didn't like Neil. Alan Menken, no. Alan, you've got too many Oscars. You don't get any more. You're cut off at 8. And then this Mirvish fella, my combined budget didn't add up to the cost of an Oscar gift basket. So, and you just told us one of your films was bad, So, no, we're not going to give you one. So they canceled the category for that year. And we're like, what? You're such sticklers for the rules. All we did was follow your rules. And they're like, with the Academy, what are you going to do about a kid? Because they still talk like that, right?
Yeah, they talk like they're the Dick Tracy movie.
Exactly, yeah. So he said, well, we'll get press. And I do that a lot, So we got in Variety, Hollywood Reporter, LA Times, Reuters picked up the story, ran all over the world. There's like articles in Poland about this thing.
Crazy.
And based on the press that we actually got distribution from a small company that then got bought out by the Weinstein Company, which Miramax had just turned into the Weinstein Company. They put out the DVD, and on the back of the box it says, Open House, the film that changed the rules of the Academy Awards. And, and really the whole point of this endeavor was not to win an Oscar, it was to get distribution. Because that was the theory, was that, if you get an Oscar nomination, some distributor will pick you up. Yeah, because we were getting nowhere with distribution. And so in that sense, we actually succeeded. And then meanwhile, the German film, the actor friend, he recut it. It turned out pretty decent. It played festivals. It got a distribution deal. Anyway, for the audience, though, the relevant thing is that then the next year, they literally rewrote the rules and they include what I call the Mirvish clause that says, well, we have the right to activate the category if we so choose to activate the category. Anyway, but the rule is still there. It's never been activated. So all you out there in podcast land, all you have to do is make a 41-minute feature, because the Academy defines a feature as make 5 musicals, and or just make one, and then get a bunch of Bollywood films to submit, and win an Oscar. It's just that simple.
That's it.
Yeah,
easy peasy.
Easy peasy. Yeah,
I love it. Or you can just pay $15 million and win Best Picture.
Well, that'll do it too.
That'll do it too.
Yeah, but if you don't have the money.
Thanks for sharing with us.
Sure.
That's so cool. I don't even know how to transition out of that. That is just an awesome story. Thanks for spending your time with us today on the More For Me and You podcast. If you've made it to the end, we appreciate you. Now, go do us a quick favor. Please like, comment, and share this episode. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode with the incredible guests we have coming up. You can also follow us at Momi2 Podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. Oh, and for your next movie night, check out the Momi2 app. It's free and packed with amazing movies and shows you've probably never seen. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you in the pod.